Hello, dear friends. This is the Medium's Harvest, Day 69, Chapter 69. The Medium's Harvest is a phenomenal book, a book that divide an era for those who want to feel mediumship. In the Medium's book, we get to know mediumship. In the Medium's Harvest, we feel it. We feel it, and it's a connection that we make with Emmanuel, with Chico Xavier, with all these great spirits. So, here we are. Chapter 69 talks about Spiritist Currentness. What does it mean? Spiritist in the world today. But before we go to Emmanuel to understand why he writes this to us, why is he writing the current chapter? We need to read on chapter 31, dissertation 1. Chapter 31, dissertation 1. Okay, let's not forget, for those who are not acquainted with the Medium's book, the Medium's book by Allan Kardec is divided in 31 chapters and 32 counting the glossary, okay? And of these 31 chapters, we have 350 items. You know, the Spirit's book, Kardec divided in 1,019 questions and answers. In the Medium's book, he divided in items, blocks of ideas, 350 items. But the last two chapters, both the dissertations by spirits and the glossary, they are not included as items. The dissertations, which is chapter 31, why did Kardec publish this chapter? He says, in this chapter, we have collected a number of spontaneous communications. Why does he say spontaneous? Because many times he evoked the spirits, and he did evoke not with the intention of curiosity, but out of research and out of help. And he says, which complete and conform to the principles set forth in this work. We could have included a larger number, but we have limited ourselves to those that most particularly have a bearing on the future of Spiritism. Mediums and meetings. Pause. Let's listen to what Kardec says. We have limited ourselves to those that most particularly have a bearing on the future of Spiritism, mediums, and meetings. So, in the first one that we're going to read, which is the reason why Emmanuel wrote this book, the title of that dissertation at Kardec's time was Concerning Spiritism. Okay, that's why we're contextualizing to this. Who was the spirit, right? You want to know? St. Augustine. St. Augustine. St. Augustine. If you go to the third chapter of the Gospel according to Spiritism, we're going to see St. Augustine is the one that explains the planetary transition on the earth, future worlds, primitive worlds, etc. And it's said that St. Augustine right now is one of the spirits who is in charge of this committee of spirits that are pushing, I say quote unquote, but helping, fostering this transition to a regenerative world. So it's important for us to listen very closely to a spirit that is by the higher forces in charge of helping us move forward, okay? What does St. Augustine say? Apparently, not too long, but deep. He says, to you and I, Kardec had that clarity that these messages were not only for him, for them, it is for all of us. Have confidence in the goodness of God. I'm going to repeat it. St. Augustine says, have confidence in the goodness of God, and endeavor to understand that He is preparing a new destiny for you. It is true that you will not be able to enjoy this new life in your present existence, But if you did not have to live again on this globe, wouldn't you be happy if you could contemplate from a higher place the work that you had begun and watch it develop? Be solid in your faith. Do not waver, so that you may confront the obstacles that may arise against the edifice whose groundwork you have laid. The foundation upon which that building is supported is firm. Christ himself laid it, its first stone. Therefore, take heart. Bom ânimo em português. Take heart. Architects of the divine master. Work and build. God will crown your endeavors. But remember that Christ does not regard his disciples those who only talk about charity. It is not enough to merely believe. Rather, you must take special care to exemplify goodness, benevolence, and disinterestedness, without which your faith will be sterile. You know, we love Emmanuel, but we could only stay in this message and we would spend like probably a year, 2 years, 3 years, the rest of our lives meditating on this. Feel it, friends. A true message. These spirits here, they're not taking anybody's money to say these words, okay? So they're not sugarcoating anything. They're not saying this to be beautiful to you because you're not even seeing their face. But why are they saying this? There exists, the goodness exists. Some people tell me, Vanessa, my life is so hard that I sometimes don't believe in God. I understand you. And you're right. It's hard sometimes. But breathe in deeply. Did you create your breath? No. Neither did I. Who did it? Nobody. Because God is not a body. God is not a person. God is God. What is God? God is the supreme intelligence of the universe, first cause of all things. So friends, when I breathe in and out, this is nature telling me you are made of God. You came from God. You are of God. And you're gravitating around God. Life needs to be felt in its goodness so we can later do the best we can to understand God. First we feel God, then we understand God. Okay? Hold on a second, friends. I have a friend here, Carol Correa, who is with us, and I'm going to ask you to chat with her for a little bit because I need to pick up a cable for this connection to stay charged, okay? So, keep an eye on Carol Correa. Tell us, Carol.
Dear friends, are you feeling the joy of living with Saint Augustine, Kardec, and Emmanuel? Together with Vanessa and the mentors, how could we not feel it, right? I'm already crying of joy here. So much joy, I can't even contain myself. So let's feel the joy of living together.
Thank you, Carol. Lucky us that we have Carol here too, huh? And we could pick up the cable and keep this charged. All right. And the internet is like, Carol's crashing the internet. Okay. For those who don't know, or you're listening at Kardec Radio, be patient, friend. Don't be upset because we're too crazy out of joy here. Feel the joy. You are loved and you deserve love as well, okay? So here we have it. He says, be solid in your faith. And he says, it's not enough to merely believe. And Emmanuel repeats the same sentence. Let's bring Emmanuel then. And Emmanuel is going to help us feel it. Are you ready? Because Emmanuel, in this chapter 69, he's not very soothing. He is like, you know, one day when you enter the classroom and the teacher says, don't sit down, stand up because we're gonna do jumping jacks. And you're like, can't we warm up first? No warm up. It's straight to jumping jacks. If you are lucky, and yeah, that's the jumping jack with Emmanuel. He begins chapter 69, Spiritist Currentness. Public meeting on September 19th, 1960, chapter 31 of the Medium's book, dissertation 1. Emmanuel begins his dissertation by saying, Spiritists, the world of today is the field of to which you have been called to serve. First jumping jack. Spiritists, you will be working in the field of struggle, and you have been called to serve. Period. All the routes, contradictions, all the routes offer terrible contradictions. At every stretch of the road, we're surprised at those who speak about Christ, denying Him their testimony. We hear those who preach disinterestedness, clinging to possession themselves. Okay? Those who refer to union, but they spread discord. Those who exalt humility, but they are intoxicated with pride. Those who prescribe sacrifice for the use of others, without being encouraged to touch with one finger the burdens of work that the fellow men carry. Yesterday, however, in other reincarnations, we were just like that as well. We would evoke the cross of the Lord, carving crosses into the arms of our neighbor. We exalted detachment, enthroning selfishness. We praised virtue, endorsing vice. And we cried out for a brotherhood, encouraging persecution to those who did not think like us. Today, however, the Spiritist doctrine restores the gospel for us in a lively and simple version. No longer the slaughter of war, no longer the Christ monumentalized in silver and gold. Slavery, no more religious slavery, imaginatively of the Christ. No more impositions and conventions supposed to be. Now, as it should have always been, we find in the Divine Master the companion of humanity, teaching us to grow in the good for the victorious life. It is not enough for us to simply believe. Everywhere, we need to be the example of the teaching we preach, because if the gospel is the revelation by which the Christ gave us the broadest knowledge of God, the Spiritist doctrine is the revelation by which the world expects more extensive knowledge of the Christ in us and through us. Are you tired already of the jumping jacks? Because Emmanuel is going straight forward. Turn on the news. You'll be shocked, right? And we are shocked. But we wonder, why are we living in this very planet? The same planet that has all of these people and circumstances around us. we belong to it. Thank God, we no longer do many of those things. But in the past, we've done it. Why is Emmanuel saying this to us? Because to serve Jesus, we need to be open, to be flexible. We need to be compassionate. How can I help someone with a preconceived mindset of the person? Why don't I give the person the benefit of the doubt? What would that be? What if that person is in extreme pain, and out of that pain and the consequent anger, the person is acting out? Who wouldn't? Who wouldn't? If you were born in a golden crib, in a country that tells us that we are the best, how would you not achieve adulthood and feel that you're the best? It's chemistry. It's math. 2 + 2 = 4. Would we be any different in the same circumstances? No. How do we know? Because we are living with those people. And it's not by chance. Everything we're living is a byproduct of what we're attracting. That doesn't mean we're being punished. That means we are learning. And as mediums, we have one more reason to serve. And this is the reason why we're serving. Because in this life, we're no longer incurring those mistakes, but we still need to repair. How do we repair? By being good mediums. There's a true account. A spirit who came to the spiritual realm realizing that he made many mistakes. And he said, I want to be born sick. The spirit said, no. I want to be born poor. No. I want to be born very ugly. No. I want to be born without a family. No. I want to be born. I said, no. So how am I going to repair? Being born a spiritist medium. That's how we repair. We repair by serving. We don't repair by expiating. Expiation is just a process. It's an in-between repentance and reparation. Some people think that expiation is going to last like a zillion years. It's a transition from repentance to reparation. And it may happen simultaneously, but it's a transition. But reparation is the real deal. And in the current world, we have the perfect time to repair. People nowadays, they are open. Nowadays, people are willing. More than ever, people, if you say anything about God, because, I don't know, I needed something of it. No longer we are living a time in which suffering is far from anybody's life. If you know anybody who is not experiencing any form of suffering at any dimension of their lives, please send their name to me at kardecradio@gmail.com. I want to meet them, I want to study them, I want to know who they are, because it will be almost impossible. I'm not going to say impossible because only God knows, but mathematically it looks like it's very unlikely. Somebody, they are living challenges, struggles. They are open. This is the best time to repair. It's reparation time. It's a time in which we, those who have realized we no longer want to repeat the old conditionings, we want to open new ones, and that's why it's not easy. It's not easy because people are bothering us. It's not easy because we're still learning how to be in that mode that is new to us. It's new. What is it to think constantly the good, feel the good, visualize the good? We're learning. You know, we still see the dead dog most of the time. Sometimes we recall Jesus saw the beautiful teeth. Oh yeah, they were beautiful, but they're smelly. They're beautiful. This is us. There will be a day we won't feel the smell. We won't be bothered by anything, and we will only see the beauty. And that's the goal. Not because we're Pollyanna or we're living the La La Land. No, no, no. But because this is the divine look in life. And Emmanuel says to us, Spiritists, of course, the lesson today is for those who are immersed in the Spiritist message. The world of today is the field of struggle to which we have been called to serve. Why? Because we repented already. And we one day said, I'm tired. I'm tired of getting drunk in life. I'm tired of sleeping in life. I'm tired of hurting people. I'm tired of being hurt. I'm tired of this old conditioning that is only bringing bothering times in my life and the lives of everyone I meet. And they say, okay, you're going to reincarnate and you're going to be able to get out of it as you exercise the new service. But let's tie into the dissertation number 1. St. Augustine says the conditions, shall we? It's not enough to believe, right? He says. And he says we need to exemplify. And Emmanuel puts it together. Exemplify goodness. But everybody is gossiping at work, Vanessa. If I don't, I'm going to lose my job. Congratulations to you if you're going to lose your job. Because being the gossip mule, you don't sleep. And if you sleep today, you won't sleep in the future decades. Or you won't sleep at all in the spiritual realm. So, no gossiping. But, you know, people, they don't pay taxes really, do they? Do they really pay? They say everything. But we know better, right? There is an universal camera watching us, recording us 24/7, and it's going to be registered. And as Leon Denis says, it's going to be imprinted in our spiritual body, like a computer. We have a mental computer. Anything we say, we do, we feel, we think, is creating files in this computer. And if we don't have inner discipline to archive, delete, not to write at random, the computer's going to be like taken over by junk and by silliness and nonsense and worse. And then we're not going to feel good. So he says, goodness, benevolence, goodwill. Benevolence means goodwill. Goodwill, disinterestedness. What is disinterestedness? He's talking about personal interest. Somebody said to me the other day, in another country, I kindly say this without disclosing the name because the person is blessed as well, but it's a good case for us. I will go to the mediumistic meeting tonight because I will find a relief for myself. And then the person corrected themselves, saying, well, actually, I'll go there to help, and then inevitably I'm going to feel better. So you see, we're not there yet, which is okay. One day we'll go just for the sake of helping. And inevitably, we're going to receive it, but that's not the point anymore. For now, we're still doing stuff out of this personal relief, personal consolation, etc. And we need to take the other step and stop just calculating the benefits for us and do it because it's the good thing to be done. I've been learning this. You've been learning this. When we do this at Kardec Creative, there are spiritists who ask me, why is Kardec Radio on Facebook live every day at 11 p.m.? My answer is only this. Because they want us to share these good studies that are not yet translated with the audience. Why wouldn't we? Why? Give me an explanation. But I don't see any but. I see but if we don't do. What if I say, no, I'm going to sleep early. You're going to sleep early. And then what's going to happen next? The good spirits, they see the good. We don't. But if we obey them, one day we will see it. Like children and parents. Children cannot see the end result of the actions. But if they follow through what parents say, they obey the result, the end result may be great. I cannot see. Maybe others can see. But the good spirits can see. And this is doing no harm to anybody. Right? So Rafael Medeiros is saying, especially those who give advice to others in the Spiritist Center are watched by the discarnates and they feel if you apply what you say. Exactly. Exactly, Rafael. And he says here, without which your faith will be sterile. So without goodness, benevolence, disinterestedness, faith is sterile. Believing God, that's why they're saying, Emmanuel says, it's not enough for simply to believe. He says here, in the past, we were the ones who were saying, let's be united, but we're creating discord. Hopefully, we're no longer that. Because there are many people in the Spiritist movement who say, unity, 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 but on the behind the scenes, they are bad-mouthing everybody. I'm so sorry to say this. Sorry. But if we're doing this, we're doing the same mistake as the people in the past. Especially if we have volunteered to take positions that are supposed to be unifying. And if we are not unifying everyone without an exception, we're incurring the same old mistake of the Crusades, of the Inquisition, and we're not going to be happy when we discarnate. That's the fact of the matter. Today, Spiritism restores the gospel for us in a lively and simple version. No longer we're using the Christ to create wars. No longer we're going to create Christ in silver and gold, so our Spiritist centers don't need to be fancy. They need to be neat in the sense of organized, clean. No more religious slavery, thinking that we have to have blind faith. No more impositions. There are people who are not, who have this cowardice inside. They cannot face and impose, but they do worse. They go on the behind the scenes and creating positions, and if you are not doing what they like, they simply turn their backs. It's passive-aggressive, but it is aggressive. Neglecting does not belong to the dictionary of the Christ. Do you think Jesus ever neglected anybody? Do you think Jesus ever neglected? Do you think Xavier ever neglected? We see many Spiritists who are doing that. And we hear the cry of people who even come to us and say their stories. And we say, let's forgive and forget. Because if they knew what they are doing, they wouldn't do it. They've been through it themselves and they're repeating the same mistake. And they know how it hurts because they've experienced it in this very life, not in a previous life. So let's pray that they wake up sooner than later. And hopefully we're not doing the same. Hopefully we're not the ones who are creating discord. That's what Emmanuel is saying. It's not me. He's saying those who preach disinterestedness. He's talking to Spiritists and to the mediums. He says, no more conventions supposed of the Christ. If you follow the code of organization X, you're in. If you don't, you're out. That is not Spiritism. There is no separation. There is no condemnation. Ever, 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 ever. No more impositions and conventions supposed to be of the Christ. And he says we find the Master as it should have always been, as a companion of humanity, teaching us to grow in the good for the victorious lives. But it's not enough to believe. What we need to do is to have the knowledge of the Christ in us and through us. Give example our own selves. The others, what they do, we pray, but it doesn't matter to us. If you are the president of organization or in a Spiritist center, and somebody is having a behavior that is discordant, we need to find ways to approach in a charitable way. To find ways to be kind, firm, but kind. But we cannot gang up on the person and expel and do lots of things that do not belong to the dictionary of the Christ conscious virtues. I told you, it's the jumping jack. Yes, plus crunches, plus a lot of other extremely difficult exercises that people don't usually like to do. This is Emmanuel telling us about the Spiritist Currentness, right? You see, Karina Lisi, Kardec Radio taught me to sleep only 3 hours every night. This is real. Mamma mia, Karina, you need to write to us to tell us how you're doing this, huh? How do you do it? Please, we need to learn. And thank you for sharing, Karina. So, Karina is here. Thank you, Karina. Rafael Medeiros, thank you. Daniela Oliveira, how are you? Julija, how are you? Patricia, beautiful Patricia at the team of Kardec Radio. Nina Dewey, how are you? Raquel Bakeshi, how are you? Mark Smith is here with us as well. Rosemary de Assis, Amanda Andrade, how are you? Silvio Otero. Oh, she says, I care, I have always admired the sweet and kind smile you have. Oh, Nora Brazil, how are you? Ceisa, beautiful Ceisa. Sunshine, how are you? Andrea Torres. Fred Gouveia, how are you? Anna from Alabama, how are you? Paula, beautiful Paula, how are you? Antoni, Rian and Nico, how are you? John the Rose, how are you? Shane Martin is here. Woohoo! How are you, Shane? Lea Severo, how are you? Márcia Fernandes, how are you? Teresa Catapano, how are you? Friends, you know, Rudy, one more night, please. I agree. You know, actually, this book has 90 chapters. We are 3 weeks away from sleeping one full night. If the mentors allow, we don't know what's going to happen next. But let's see if we are granted one night of sleep. If we can, huh? It's going to take a while, right? But what's going to happen tomorrow? God willing, because only God knows, we will be back. That's Emmanuel's plan. Mediumship and doubt. Oh gosh, talking about doubt, huh? Mediumship and doubt. Do you doubt when you are in a mediumship meeting? The spirits come and you're like, huh? Is it a spirit? Is it not? Is it me? Who is this? It's like knock knock, who's there? Type of game. Some people are like that inside of themselves. Emmanuel says, if doubts of our duty to help others through mediumship happens, observe the works, the immense works of the gospel, and think what it would be of us if Jesus would have doubted God. Ouch! What the... Ay, ay, ay. So, tomorrow, no jumping jacks, huh? We're gonna go back to the therapist, okay? The educator and therapist, Emmanuel, is gonna be back with us today. Let's go with our sore muscles, because today was a very intense. It's about not enough to simply believe. We need to give of ourselves to exemplify goodness, disinterestedness, benevolence, and think that we're not more than others, because we've been there, done that. Now it's reparation time. Shall we? Go with your beautiful sore muscles, and you're stronger tomorrow. And come back, because Emmanuel wants to tell us more when we have doubt. Jesus is passing by. Look at Carol.
Jesus is passing by, and when he comes, everything is fine. Sadness is gone, and happiness arrives.
And when he
Comes, everything is fine. Sadness is gone, and happiness arrives.
Bye-bye.